Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Chair Rastus. I'm very happy to be here, also because I find myself among friends, and especially President Romano Prodi, Vice Minister Marina Sereni, and all the other distinguished speakers that are here today. And I'm particularly happy because we are talking about a topic that for me is particularly significant, also because I've been electoral observer in more than 20 missions in my life, most of them in Africa and Northern Europe, Eastern Europe. And therefore, I have, let's say, a perception of elections as something that is not only the end of a process, a political process, but it actually conserves and peaks and keeps its transformative power. Certainly, in this moment in which I am actually special representative for the Sahel, I realize how difficult it is to keep the political meaning of elections, because there is a lot of disillusionment with politics, there is still fear of corruption. The very important principle that also President Mandela supported so much, such as every vote counts, is perceived as something utopistic, which is something that I find particularly worrying, because if the populations lose their faith in the electoral process, of course, we risk that the political process becomes somehow idle, or can bring some solutions that are more in the direction of extremism than in the democratic direction. Of course, what I can say is that despite all these real risks in the actual political panorama nowadays, also in the Sahel, and I will say a couple of words about this in a minute, I continue to think that elections have a very important transformative power, and I also want to say that the European Union believes strongly in this, of course, and Italy within the European Union is particularly engaged in supporting this principle. And as regards the Sahel, which is a very complex area at the moment, going through a very serious crisis, I have to say that the electoral process is part of the more general concept of governance, which is the key political point in the new strategy of the European Union for the Sahel. So we are all perfectly aware of the fact that unless we do this, we will not have proper governance, and unless we don't have governance, that means also welfare state, we are not going to solve any problem, because even the problems of security are very much related to the issue of governance. And therefore, of course, we have to put all the efforts we can in favoring electoral processes, and especially guaranteeing that the populations have the opportunity to express themselves. In this sense, I want to say that we ask ourselves whether the elections actually empower citizens. In order to do so, certainly we have to concentrate very much on the electoral process. This, I have to say, I am also advocating for as regards Mali, for instance, because in Mali, you know that we are going through a very serious crisis. The transition has not virtually started, unlike other countries like, for instance, Chad, and therefore we are insisting on the need to have a proper time frame for transition. We are insisting to make sure that the actual government shows the will to start the proper political process to reestablish democracy through elections. Certainly, I can say that in this sense, because the crisis is so strong, I am insisting on the fact that also the electoral process is fundamental. And therefore, I think that if we concentrate on the electoral process, favoring voting education, for instance, and other parts of the electoral process that are absolutely fundamental for the empowerment of the population, we cannot really achieve anything, because we need to sensitize the population in a way by which there is a general understanding of the importance of also pushing for this kind of electoral process. I want to just say that, and this in this sense, in of elections is a very strike an important project that I support completely. Also, I supported it when I was still Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs together with Marina Sereni in Italy, and I am very convinced that this is an important, very important tool. Just to conclude, I would like to say that regarding the European Union and its role, and of course Italy within the European Union, I remember, for instance, the first elections in which the European Union was a protagonist in setting up an electoral mission. I was there. It was 1994 in South Africa, the first multi-ethnic elections, as well as in other places. I, for instance, want to say that the elections have a huge social importance. I remember, for instance, observing elections in Ukraine in 1998, and we are talking about Ukraine nowadays. And just to, if you allow, sharing one of my personal experiences, I was so impressed by the fact, because I am an Italian, I've voted all my life, and for me it's a normal part of my life as a citizen, and this is another big concept on which we should reflect. But when I started observing elections in a remote area in Ukraine, I noticed that because for them was such an event, such a demonstration of the ability of being a proper citizen in a democratic context, they had decorated the polling station with flowers, with vases, with plants, with all sorts of beautiful things to celebrate the act of voting, which is something that we should also ritually remember, that is part, an important part, and especially an extraordinary part of our citizenship. So regarding Sahel, of course, I am insisting on this. I'm saying, yes, look at the elections. The elections are part of the negotiation at the moment. It's very difficult, as you know, for a number of reasons I cannot explain now, but certainly it's part of the problem of the crisis in Mali in particular. But look also at the electoral process. Concentrate on the electoral process. Start thinking of educating citizens to voting, for instance, which would allow us also to penetrate the communities, to meet the people, to start building a democratic discourse. And therefore, again, I'm very happy to be here because a project like Innov Elections certainly goes in this direction, and we need more Innov Elections in the region of Sahel as well as everywhere else. Thank you very much.